Hi there, and welcome back to another session with Axis Mutual Fund. You would have looked at the color of my shirt and thought that there's something electrifying about this session today, and you're pretty right, right? We're going to talk about energies today. Not my energies, but the Nifty Energy Index, and our latest offering, which is the Axis Nifty Energy Index Fund. To talk about this fund, I have with me Mr. Mahavir Kaswa. He heads passive research at Axis Mutual Fund, has about 2 decades of experience with NSE, with a few AMCs, and now is spearheading this role with Axis. So, hi Mahavir and welcome.
Hi Siddhant, looking forward for the session.
Great. So, Mahavir, like I mentioned that it's going to be electrifying and all, thoda oversell kar diya. But why are we discussing energy? Why is this sector important, and why do we need to sit down and take these folks time and tell them about the sector?
Just think about it. Like since you woke up and till time you reached in this studio today, things that you just did, and like for example, you must have taken a shower. For this, must have water heater would have been used. You have taken some food from the refrigerator. You have used elevator. You have used car, and think all those entire chain of events. Everywhere you use energy, not just during the day, but also when you sleep. The energy will always consume, and you were all thinking about only about citizens' consumption. Think about the factories. Think about the services industries. Think about the AI, which is one of the most hottest theme. Think about the transport that is running throughout 24 hours, 24/7 in fact, right? All this enterprisation, everything put together, energy is going to be critical. More importantly, now India has reached at a juncture where our economy, we are all talking about 10 trillion economy. We just recently reached 4 trillion economy. And for us to migrate from 4 trillion economy to a 10 trillion economy, the energy consumption has to go up significantly up. I was just looking through some data before the session, and what I found out is the country's energy consumption per capita and their income per capita. These basically go hand in hand. What I mean by that is, the moment your income per capita is increasing or energy consumption is increasing, the other side is going up exactly same direction. So there is no country on the planet which has probably low energy consumption but high income, or vice versa, which is like low income but high energy consumption. So the point being, if India has to grow, the energy consumption has to grow.
Right. So, Mahavir, this energy consumption, I think it was a very loaded answer. Thank you for that. You've given me a few hooks that I will go back to. But the growth of an economy, the growth of GDP per capita, and the growth of energy consumption, they're all interlinked, like you mentioned. Let's look at some data. I think you had mentioned, by the way, folks, we have a product presentation that we're going to be discussing. It's available on our website, axismf.com, as well as on all leading marketplaces. You can go and access this. So, Mahavir, our presentation talks about some data. We talk about China, we talk about the United States, Germany, etc., which are traditionally powerhouses for both manufacturing and services.
Okay.
And now AI being the latest theme. And we see it is a linear curve and there is a direct correlation. But why is that so? Is it simply the fact that because there are more jobs, because there are, say, industrial output is higher, etc.? Is that always correlated?
It has to be, right? It's just naturally and intuitive. Like if the economy has to grow, the manufacturing activity, services activity, transportation activity, or even urbanization has to go up. Only then the economic output, what is GDP? It's a gross value added to the economy, right? And that has to, if that has to go up, you're going to use all these things that is require energy, that powers the energy. So energy and economic output will always have very high correlation.
Right. Fair enough. So okay, before we get into technicals, let me give you, say, a backstory, right? I remember, so my grandparents used to live in Gurgaon. Back in the early 2000s, we used to go there, summer vacations, good times, etc., right? But one thing that used to stand out was the fact that Gurgaon was even back then a developing city. Right? They didn't have power 24/7. So peak summer when it's 40-45 degrees out there, and there would be power loss for 2, 3, 4, 6 hours, right? And it used to get unbearable at times. Right. I think that's still true in today's day and age. And I used to juxtapose it to, say, back in Mumbai where I used to live, we never had any power cuts.
Okay.
Right? Is this what's changed? Are we a more stable country? Do we have more power? Or is it the fact that are we more urbanized and therefore we don't feel the power cuts? Where are we at?
It's a good point that you touch upon. In fact, I mean, if you look back, you just touch upon the India state a couple of decades back, where we had very frequent power cuts. Our power consumption or power production was predominantly thermal. and most of the power utilities and power generating companies were dominated by public sector utilities, which is PSUs. But today, as you mentioned, what we see now, the most of the places we have 24/7 electricity. Of course, there are still power cut, and there is a very interesting reason to see the power cuts. Electricity is one such product which has to be where the demand and supply has to match each other.
Right.
There can't be a storage like we have grain storage, we have some whatever the food or oil and gas storage, but there can't electricity cannot be stored in one place and then it's supplied at the time the demand increases, right? So power cuts would still be there, but there would be significantly less now. In fact, I was looking through some data. What I found out, India's energy shortage has come down to less than 1% now.
Oh, really?
And from a historical numbers of about 10 to 15%.
Wow.
So that's a significant improvement we have done. Just to put some numbers behind it, India's energy generation capacity was around 305 gigawatt back in 2015, 2016. Today, as we speak, it is already crossed 530 gigawatt.
Wow.
That's a good addition we have done. But what is more interesting now is the next 10 years. Today we are starting at 530 gigawatt. The next 10 years, India has a plan to add about 590 gigawatts, which means we're going to add more than what we have added ever in the entire history of India. So that's going to be very critical, and that's where we're talking about the energy today. That the last 50, 60 years or maybe even 100 years, what the energy production that India had generated so far, we're going to add more than that in the next 10 years. Why? Again, going back to the economic development, urbanization, and many other things, we're going to, of course, talk about that.
Amazing. I think Mahavir, just adding to, I remember I saw this recently. Let me actually go back to this data. I saw something very interesting on the similar lines. So it said that solar capacity since 2014, there's this data, and this is available on X. There has been a 98% jump in solar capacity from 2.6 gigawatt to 162 gigawatts. There is, for the PNG connections have grown 84% from 25 lakhs to 1.6 crore. Renewable capacity has increased by 78% from 54 gigawatts to 250 gigawatts odd. Railway electrification
7 lakh kilometer additional in the next 10 years.
Wow.
And that will require hoping investment of about 8 lakh crore in this space itself. Only on transmission. Look at the growth of project investors can think about it here.
Yeah.
We spoke about the renewables. Now, I mentioned 90 gigawatt of energy will be added in the next 10 years. A large part of this addition is going to come from the renewables,
right?
Which is about 510 gigawatts,
Okay.
out of which 400 is going to come from the solar alone.
Oh.
That's the interesting part again, that the cost of solar unit, electricity unit manufacturing is significantly less than any other source that we talk about. And India is blessed being a tropical country. We have abundant supply of sunlight in, of course, monsoon days, but otherwise we have very good available sunlight.
I actually remember reading this, Mahavir. I remember reading a report done by one of the players in this sector. India gets about 300 days of sun in a year, therefore making us one of the most conducive for solar power.
Absolutely.
I think there is a very large plant put up again by one of the constituents of this index somewhere in Rajasthan. And I think it's one of the largest renewable power plants in the world, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
So, sorry, Mahavir, just asking, digressing, or rather going back to a couple of hooks that you had left on this. Why only solar? There are so many other ways of consuming or rather generating renewable power. There is wind, there is thermal, there is nuclear, etc. So why like I said, this is only 300 days of sun we see. Are the others not conducive enough?
No, I mean, why not? I mean, they are. I mean, if you look at current consumption of energy, is coming significantly from the thermal itself, which is coal-based. And just to put numbers, nearly 3/4 of the energy generated today is coming from the coal-based one. And for the next 10-20 years, I don't see we are reducing that significantly. What we're going to do is that we're going to add more of renewables and more importantly solar, like you asked for. Now, as I mentioned briefly, that the cost of producing electricity through solar is significantly lesser than any of the other sources of thing. Like for example, there are other sources which is hydro, there is a nuclear, there is a green hydrogen. All of these sources have some bit of a technicalities which adds bit complexity, whereas India being tropical, just at the cost of repetition, we have abundant solar available. Just to put some different context, like the western countries have significant part of renewables coming through wind, because there is a wind which is abundantly available as compared to the sunlight that they get much lesser sunlight than India gets.
I think that's what they have. They have a few wind plants in northern Europe, off of the Alaskan coast, etc. So there are a lot of such plants. But I also remember reading that wind turbines have a very short life, and they have to be buried.
Maintained as well.
Yeah,
There are a lot of
and
expensive.
there's a lot of damage it does to
Yeah.
the environment as well.
Yeah.
So, Mahavir, like you mentioned, that I think there are 5 core tenets, right? Let's actually go back to the presentation. That which are the 5 sectors that are going to demand most power according to you?
I mean, first of all, the like all sector put together where we're seeing the growth would demand that power. But some of the key drivers, if I had to put that way, manufacturing would be the most one. Looking at the India's GDP, currently it is significantly driven by the services. Like just put number again, more than 50% of the India's GDP is controlled by services sector.
Right.
This is one sector which consumes much lesser energy. But now, as India is looking to enhance the manufacturing activity through Make in India initiatives, I do believe that manufacturing will actually consume and demand more energy supply. The second would be the transportation. Now, oil and gas as a significant part of our transport is still based upon the oil and gas particularly, and I do again strongly believe that it will continue to do well. However, if you remember, we have in the last few years and maybe even for last few decades, we have seen multiple global shocks for the energy, oil prices being suddenly going up significantly, and it is like maybe 100% up as well. And no economy can bear such a sudden shock of oil in their economy. So I think the government is putting a lot of initiatives to reduce the dependence on the oil and gas as a transportation thing. And whereas they're electrifying railways, they are looking to get EV electric vehicles also as a adoption. Government's plan is to have almost 30% market share of a new vehicle sold should be coming from the electric vehicles by 2030. That's another interesting point. The other one, which is a very recent one though, but it's I'm very optimistic on that, is data centers. Now, I think the AI is not anymore like a very fancy thing. It is almost getting into our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Everyone is adopting to AI, and every AI computation requires huge amount of energy. And it requires data centers, which a lot of global firms are coming to India because we have promised them to provide 24/7 electricity for that purpose. And just to give some context to the AI computation power, that energy requirement, if you do a normal Google search, let's imagine it consumes X unit of energy, and for almost same research in the Chat GPT or any other AI module, it will require at least 10x of the energy. That is the energy consumption we're looking at it right now. And now with almost all businesses are already preparing for themselves to get into AI computation and all that thing, I think the energy consumption coming through exclusively from the AI and data center would be significantly high. We don't have the estimates right now for that, but I'm very confident that this number is also going to go up significantly. The other one, which is the global concern, that climate change.
Yeah.
Every year, I'm sure you would have noticed already that last 5-10 years we have seen
summers are getting
much hotter.
Yeah.
Not even summers also, winters also getting milder probably, if I can put that way.
And rain patterns are
has been another big challenge.
Yeah.
Which also means that we're going to have air conditioner at home.
Yeah.
If you already have, you're going to use it more than probably otherwise you were using, right? So it's another intense energy consumer. The other thing is that India's per GDP or per capita income is going up as well year on year. That also means a prosperity is coming in, which means people would want to have air conditioner. That's a sign of a prosperity in India.
Right.
So people will have air conditioner at their home. Energy consumption will go up again. And the last but not least is urbanization. Now, if you just gave an example of Gurgaon, right? Back in like 10-15 years back, the urbanization in Gurgaon would have been negligible as compared to what you see today.
True.
Now, Gurgaon anyway is a very large city today. But look at any other small city or village or taluka place. Everywhere you see concrete buildings. Everywhere where the concrete building, there will be water storage, which will require pump to put the water up, which also means that people will also have a refrigerator. They'll have water heater. They'll have a air conditioner, washing machines, so everything, right?
They'll have multiple phones, they'll have multiple chargers, multiple laptops, Wi-Fi connections.
Exactly. And today's world is extremely dependent on the energy. I mean, I was talking to someone, I just mentioned that today's modern world is the energy is oxygen for them. Without energy, nothing can function. You may survive without food for one day, few days. Energy is going to be super critical for the entire world to function now.
Yeah, no, I think Mahavir, you've hit the nail on the head. I think all 5 tenets are extremely critical, and we've seen with the recent war in the Middle East, we've seen Oil prices spiral. We've seen countries face severe shocks. Luckily, India has been, I think we've been pragmatic
Yeah.
in terms of how it's been managed. But for sure, I think uh, energy is literally driving us. Without energy, we'll come to a standstill.
Correct.
So, Avir, thank you for spending so much time on these 5 points. But I also thought of a few other things, right? This index, we're not only talking about a few stocks, right? We're not talking about sectors in isolation. We're talking about entire value chains, right? Can we spend some time on that? So, how is this, although it's a concentrated portfolio, but it's actually very deep and very wide?
Exactly.
I want you to spend a couple of minutes and help us understand that, please.
Right. So when we think about energy, usually naturally to us it will come only oil and gas.
Right.
But actually it's much more wider than that. And if you just break down the energy entire value chain into few elements, I would probably talk about power value chain, where we have power generating companies, and their power generation can be through thermal, solar. Hydro is another one. We also have nuclear, we have green hydrogens. All those type of different power generating companies are there. Then there is the power that is generated has to be transmitted to the ultimately to grid, and then grid will ultimately transfer to the consumer.
Correct.
So transmission companies, the power grid is one of the largest power grid transmission company, and ultimately the distribution. This is predominantly dominated by the state discoms, but they also play a very critical role of ultimately last mile connect that we call it, that connecting the end consumer with the power grid particularly. That's the power value chain. If you look at the oil and gas value chain, what we have is companies that are into exploration and extraction of the oil and gas, and then from there we have to refine those gas. So that's a midstream, which is where you refine into the turbine manufacturing sort of thing, or hydro plants. So there are companies which provide the EPC contracts of these renewable energies as well. And the last but not least is heavy electrical equipments. These companies particularly offer the various electrical heavy duty equipments that are required in the entire value chain. So that's a massive value chain that we see in terms of energy value chain. And the interesting part about this fund is that this fund offer almost entire exposure to this value chain. That's why it's very, very promising to me.
Exactly, and like you just explained, that you're not only getting a piece of the pie, you're actually getting the whole pie.
Correct.
You're getting vertical and horizontal integration, right?
Yes.
I think that's the phenomenal beauty of this product.
Correct.
So Mahavir, and I was just looking at the constituents. It's got heavy hitters like Coal India, Reliance Industries, ONGC, NTPC, etc. So this is a primarily large cap skewed category.
So almost 70% of the index weight goes to large cap, and remaining about 28 or 30% approximately goes to the mid and small put together.
All right. So therefore, it would make it quite attractive from a liquidity point of view, because
Yes.
these are the giants of our economy. These are literally the titans,
Right.
no pun intended, but the titans of the economy, which are anchoring our growth.
Correct, absolutely. I mean, energy theme itself is anchoring the growth, to be
Yeah.
very precise.
Mahavir, I was just going back to some data. You mentioned, the 5 tenants that are going to drive energy, and I have some data for this, right? Manufacturing heavy industry needs cleaner power, and 120 gigawatts is what we need by 2030. And like you mentioned, we're getting closer and closer to that energy independence, right? Data centers, I think it's again a critical space, because you have more and more GCCs coming to India and showing an intent to invest billions of dollars and set up centers here, but they're going to be extremely power demanding. They're also going to have a lot of cooling needs. They're going to have a lot of water needs. So I think the entire value chain will fire once again. Urbanization, I think 40% of people are expected to move to urban centers by 2030. And like you mentioned, it will need concrete jungles to be set up across. EVs, we're targeting 30% EV share. I think EVs is actually just the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing entire value chains expand in terms of two-wheelers coming in terms of freighters, in terms of commercial vehicles also being shifted to EV platforms. Therefore, I slightly like this sector, so I will talk about it. But EVs are also cheaper to manage, simply because you just have to add lubricants to it. There's no moving parts, there's no internal combustion, so the life of the vehicle is potentially not as long as an ICE engine, but it's cheaper to run. And finally, you mentioned cooling. I have a very interesting stat. My brother used to stay in Paris for his masters, and he would say that, Bhaiya, it's hot here, it's almost 35 degrees, and there's no fan in the room, there's no air conditioners. But now they're actually getting air conditioners. Indian students who travel, they carry desk fans.
Yes.
I think it's just the times are changing
Yes,
very
yes,
rapidly,
absolutely.
no?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, Mahavir, I think we've covered quite a lot in today's session. I would want you, like we mentioned, or rather, like you mentioned, that this index has some PSUs as well as a lot of primarily driven by private sectors as well. Uh, are our policies, are the government policies acting as a tailwind to the sector's growth?
I think this is one of the most important point that is crucial for any sector to grow. And in this particular space, government very well understand that for them to support the economic growth, it is super critical for them to support the energy as a sector. What is more important, why the policies are more important is because if you look at the energy, it requires huge capital investment, and gestation period of this investment is also long. So for a private players to come into this, they definitely require a very supportive policy environment. And thanks to the current government, what they have done is there are a lot of policy initiatives that they have taken, which is going to collectively help the energy sector to grow. Some of the policy initiatives includes like national electricity plan, smart metering. This is going to help reduce the billing errors. This will also increase the accuracy of the energy demands, because smart meter will continuously relay the information of the energy consumption, and accordingly the power plants can be run. If they need to increase the capacity, they can increase the capacity as per the latest data available. Right. There are also a lot of impetus on the increasing the new capacity addition through non-fossil fuel, in fact. And we're having a target of having 5 gigawatt of a non-fossil fuel. Green hydrogen, another very interesting theme that we are looking to spend money on and maybe enhance their capacity. And also, probably last but not the least is natural gas expansion. Currently, India's market share in the natural gas is about 7%. India is looking to double that from 7 to 15% by 2050.
Right. I think that's phenomenal. Mahavir, I think before we go, I remember reading that this is actually a very high performing index as well. If memory serves me right, if an investor would have invested 1 lakh rupees on the 1st of January 2000 in the energy index, it would have been about 70 lakhs.
Correct.
In 25 years.
Correct.
That's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Like, where do you get such growth?
Right. So just to add a few numbers to that, I mean, you're right, absolutely. What is also more interesting to note is the last 1 year, the index has grown about 10% CAGR as compared to the Nifty 500, which is about almost flat or slightly negative. In 3 years also, the index has grown about 19% CAGR compared to Nifty 500, about 13% CAGR. One thing to note here, although, is this is a thematic one, and it will have its own risk also. More importantly, standard deviation. You can expect a bit of a more volatility. So people who are looking to invest long term and have a very strong belief in India's growth story, I think this is a very good consideration for them to invest into it.
Right. So, Mahavir, do you think this becomes a core strategy or a satellite strategy for investors?
I think looking at the thematic nature of this, I would definitely put into my tactical bucket.
Okay.
And you can think about allocation anywhere between 10 to 15% overall allocation for a portfolio. This can be a good addition to that portfolio.
So would you look at a staggered approach, or would you look at parking lumpy monies in this strategy?
I mean, that's a very person to person specific thing. Like currently market are choppy or the flattish kind of thing. I wouldn't mind putting some bulk investment and also start an SIP. And eventually, as you get more confidence in the team, you can keep increasing the allocations as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm at the end of all my questions. So, how about 30 seconds to you? How would you summarize our discussion today? So, if one of our 30-year-old viewers is looking at this video and we happen to just clip this, like sensationalization is done on YouTube, how will they learn about energy?
I think energy is super critical in everywhere. May it be economy, may it be even the personal consumptions as well. India's economic growth is tied with the energy. No country can grow without the energy growth. So in my view, super critical. India is at a very important juncture from 4 trillion to 10 trillion. That is the one key hook probably for me where the energy shift can be seen.
Right. So I think with that, Mahavir, we've come to an end of the session. For the folks watching, thank you for tuning in today. I would just like to say that our NFO is live. It closes on the 21st of August 2026. It's available on accessmf.com, on our website, on our mobile app, as well as on leading platforms, marketplaces, etc. Please feel free to reach out in case you have any questions, any queries. We are always here to help. If you have any specific queries for Mahavir, you can please write into our customer care numbers, customer care email IDs, and we will answer them for sure. With that, thank you, Mahavir, and thank you, folks, for tuning in. And we will see you soon, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely. I mean, it was really engaging discussion.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.